Hello, everybody. This is Nicole Whitlock with eCom Sellers. Today's topic is 7 ways to overcome adversity. Here's the deal. Today has been the most interesting day. Well, I'm sure I've had plenty of those, the most interesting days. For those who don't know, I do have a special needs, two special needs kiddos. One of them more require a little more assistance than the other. Let's just put it that way. And today I had to spend roughly about 2 hours of my day unplanned, just working through some additional challenges there. In addition to that, I woke up this morning at 6, had a list of things that I needed to get done that were all critical. And so a lot of the things that needed to be done before 3 o'clock, and that did not happen. When it comes to adversity, today was like a perfect picture of the topic. Anything that could go wrong did go wrong. And I was like, what is happening here? So if you've ever seen Ted Lasso, there's a guy by the name of Roy Kent. And when things are slightly weird, he goes, what's happening here? Yeah. What is happening? And I'm sure that I'm not the only person who's had those kind of days where things did not go as planned, things did not work out the way you needed them to, things were you ran into one obstacle over another obstacle into another obstacle, and you're like, geez Louise, this is insane. So I'm going to give you some tips, maybe more so as a pep talk to myself, but give me some tips because of the fact that, there are days when this kind of stuff happens and you're just going to have to keep moving and keep pushing. So the first one is, of course, maintain a positive attitude. Not always the easiest thing to do while you're in the middle of it. Trust me, I know you know. Sometimes we get mad, we get frustrated, we get angry. We're trying to figure out, why this is happening. And then you have all these other deadlines that are looming because of this thing. So, like for me today, I spent 7.5 hours, maybe 8, and the issue is not resolved, working on a funnel that's broken and the emails are not going out and it's and talking to support and going through support documents and going from system to system. And yeah, it was more time than I had allotted for that particular activity. Having written down that I was going to work on this stuff for about, I don't know, 2 hours, and it ended up taking 5.5, almost 6 hours more time than planned, is a little frustrating. And so I think I did pull one of my VAs on the call, but I think one of the things she was like, I don't know how you're staying positive in the middle of this. It is all fake positivity at this point because I was very frustrated. And I'm sure that there are times when you're like on the phone with Amazon or you're trying to get somebody to respond to you from one of the other platforms that you sell on. Maybe it's one of the suppliers and you just want to lose it. And at the end of the day, it doesn't, you can't think as clear when you lose it. So it doesn't help you to lose it. You got to find that happy space somewhere in the middle of the madness and figure out how to maintain. So do what you can to maintain some level of a positive attitude in the middle of it. That may not always be possible, but that's just a suggestion. Number 2 is to think about what you can learn from the situation. So for me, I have teams that do different things. This particular thing was very unique because I didn't expect to run into this problem. I think the last time I ran into this problem was probably back in 2020. So I'm not thinking 3 years later I'm going to run into this issue again, but no, I did. And software can be janky. It's just a fact. That's just the nature of what happens. Sometimes there's glitches. So for me, it's like, okay, what can I learn from this? Even though I didn't experience this problem again for the last 3 years, like I didn't run into it at all. Maybe, just maybe, documenting what happened so that way, if it ever comes up again, then that might be an opportunity. Documenting every interaction that I had with the different support teams that I had to reach out to, tier level 2, tier level 3 customer service. So again, what can you learn from it? Or is it that you need to put better contingency plans in place? That may be the thing for you. You may ultimately discover that you're working with certain vendors and suppliers and you need to have a backup supplier for something, or you need to have a contingency plan for, if your software is not working or something like that. But there's always something to learn. We can't always see it while we're in it. So write it down, for later. Maybe just record an audio file if you were too frustrated to be able to write it down. Sometimes when we write things down, we relive it, and sometimes we do not want to relive it. So, anyway, number three is to reach out or to connect with established relationships. You know, a lot of us are in different Facebook groups, especially if there's certain software that we've purchased or different services that we use. And you can reach out to people in those groups to see if they've ever encountered that issue. That's one way to solve the problem. In addition to that, as whatever business you run, whether you're an e-commerce seller or something else, sometimes there are people that you connect with in your network that maybe do some of the same stuff or use some of the same software you do, people that are smarter than you, and just reach out to them. Don't be shy about it. Reach out to them and see if they can provide some insight or guidance so you can help like mitigate and manage the situation that you might be running into or the challenges that you're encountering. And I know I'm talking about the majority of this from a business standpoint, but there are things that we can glean from this in our personal lives as well, because sometimes some of the challenges we experience, there is something for us to learn. We just can't see it while we're in it. So connect with others who might be able to help you along this journey. So if that means a pastor or a neighbor or a good friend, your mom, your dad, whatever, reach out to someone else. Number four is to prioritize your health. Look, when it gets nuts, and it gets nuts in these camps sometimes, and we're at the halfway mark. Let's just put it out there. We're at the halfway mark for the year. That's a fact. And we are 1 quarter away from Q4. So we know that Q4 is nuts. And prioritizing your health, getting enough sleep, walking away if you have to, if your blood pressure is too high, you need to switch to something else because it's not worth it. So if you already have some health challenges, if you got other things going on, you know, remember your health. Make sure that in the middle of this, that you're not so focused and so driven that you don't get any sleep because you're up all night trying to solve the problem, or you're not eating or you're not drinking. Like, remember your health, okay, in the middle of this. Or sometimes just take a nap. I'm telling you, I want to take a nap this afternoon. Number five is to accept that adversity is part of life and growth. Look, stuff is going to happen. You never know when stuff is going to happen. When Murphy shows up and shows out, and I know I'm aging myself by saying Murphy. Murphy is the law of Murphy's law. Whatever can go wrong will go wrong. So, and I forget the quote about putting together a plan because, God laughs at our plans. But in any case, adversity is part of life. It is part of growth. It is how we can learn. There's always an opportunity to learn from something. So it is part of the journey. There are days where everything is going great, you're just clipping right along, and then one day something just messes up and you're dealing with that issue for a couple of days. Sometimes it's a stupid IP claim, sometimes it's a stupid issue with the supplier, sometimes it's a shipment that's stuck on a dock. Like, it could be any number of things. But in the midst of it all, I just want to encourage you to keep in mind that there are times where stuff is going to happen. Some days it feels like it's happening all the time, but that's not always the case. So, number six is to delegate or outsource your problem. That is ultimately at the end of the day what I decided to do today. I brought one of my VAs on the line, and she stayed on the line with me for at least 2 hours. So again, I've been working on this thing by myself for a while. And I said, look, I just need you to go ahead and whatever I put on your plate for this weekend, I need you to try and figure this problem out. And so I gave her all the login IDs and passwords, and she's going to work on it. But sometimes you do need to just do that so you can move on to the other things that are on your list. Sometimes you have to delegate it to somebody else, or sometimes you have to outsource it. Maybe you have to hire a service and just say, look, can you fix this thing? Can you whatever? So there are many different services out here in this space for e-commerce, whether it be, you have to get an attorney because your account is suspended, or you've got some claims that you have to address with Amazon, or whatever the case may be. Sometimes you just have to do that. Bite the bullet and do something that you don't normally like to do. So I had to hand it over because I didn't have any more energy to give to it. Number seven is to step away and come back to it later. That sometimes is the best way, because when you're too close to it, when you've been digging in it too long, you can't see it. You can't see the problem. You're too close to it. I don't know if any of you have ever watched the show Monk. It's not on anymore. You can watch it in replay, I think, on Amazon Prime or some other channels. But anyway, you know, for the longest time, he was trying to figure out what happened to his wife, what happened to his wife, what happened to his wife. And he was just too close to it. But he can solve all these other problems, but he couldn't solve his own problem. And so sometimes just stepping away, taking a break, doing something different for an extended period of time, putting it back on the plate for next week, and then dedicating maybe a day to that particular activity is the best way to handle it. Don't run from it because procrastination is the son of a witch. Okay. It really is. So don't run from it because procrastination will eat you up every single time. Oh my gosh, my business partner will tell you like the cow. Oh, so anyway, just remember that's not the best thing to do. Don't procrastinate. So I hope this information is helpful. I hope you use it to your benefit. If you run into challenges in your business, if you're running into challenges in your life, step through these 7. And I'm confident there are way more, there's a lot more suggestions around how to overcome adversity. But I'm definitely speaking to this mostly from an entrepreneur standpoint. So if you're an entrepreneur, sometimes you'll just get it. You'll get it and you understand it. And again, some of these can apply to family as well. So I hope you use this to help you on your journey, whatever is happening in your life, whatever challenges you're running into, whatever obstacles. Don't be frustrated by it. Figure out how to work through it and then get through it.